And good morning, everybody. Thank you for joining us today for our Kurmi webinar. I am Eric Olson. I am the Vice President of Sales for the Americas region for Kurmi. Joining me today is my much cooler and much smarter counterpart, Antoine Perrier.
Hey
Antoine
guys,
is
good morning.
Thank you. Antoine is our pre-sales director and is responsible for leading our pre-sales engineering team and our technical account management team across the globe. You'll hear his very cool accent, but even though he sounds French, don't believe him. He actually lives in Brooklyn and works out of the New York City office with me. So anyway, folks, wanted to thank you again for taking the time and your interest in Kurmi. And with that, we're excited to be here today. We will promise not to do death by PowerPoint, but I do think it's important to give you all some background and some information on who Kurmi is, what our solutions provide, and then we'll actually jump into an actual live demonstration that Antoine will be running, and then we'll also at the end be taking live Q&A. So certainly encourage you to type any questions that you have into the chat, and we will hopefully be able to get to all of them before the half hour is up. So with that, let me get started. So Kurmi overview or kind of Kurmi at a glance. Who are we? We were founded in 2008. We were initially founded in France. We still have a global headquarters in Paris, as well as locations around the world. Our U.S. headquarters is actually out of New York, but we've seen rapid expansion into other parts of the globe, including our first foray into Asia Pacific this year, and we plan on continuing to grow throughout the globe as our customer base grows and as their needs grow. So super excited about that. We're dealing with customers already with more than 25 countries. We deal generally with large-scale enterprises and service providers. So some of the biggest telcos and service providers in the world are actually existing or current Kurmi customers, as well as some of the largest, and I mean literally global top 5 companies are existing customers of Kurmi. We are very innovation driven, and a great example of that is when you look at our 125 plus employees, a full third of them plus are actually in our research and development organization. So we are continuing to invest in our technology. We want to be on the leading edge, continue to be on the leading edge as much as we possibly can, so that we're always delivering best in class technology as rapidly as we can support that in a positive way for our customer base. And the multi-technology piece you'll hear will not be the first time during this presentation, right? It's a backbone of who we are and what we do, as it certainly is something that our customer base and our prospective customers are continuing to demand. So in a nutshell, we provide a software suite that allows you to simplify the day-to-day UC administration of multiple unified communications technologies from one single pane of glass. There's multiple ways in which we manage our technology partners. We have proprietary built-in connectors to technologies like Cisco and Microsoft and Avaya and Zoom. But then we also allow our customers to leverage their existing investments and infrastructure with whether it be an ITSM like ServiceNow or potentially an HR software like a Workday. The goal for us is to allow our customers to utilize Kurmi, automate their unified communications, but be able to do that while leveraging the existing infrastructure and investment they've already made. So the next slide, I think we're going to hand over to my friend Antoine, and he's going to talk a little bit more about the specifics of what we're talking about today, which is really around Cisco and Microsoft. So with Antoine, please take it away.
Yep. Thank you, Eric. So as you saw on the previous slide, we do offer like multi-vendor capability, but I want to here get you a closer look of what we can do for Cisco. As you can see on this slide, we do manage the full Cisco collaboration suite from on-premises with CCM, Presence, Unity, but also the contact center application to their new cloud services with Webex Calling multi-tenant, but also dedicated instance. Our native connector will allow you to be connected to both environments at the same time. And you will see that could really be helpful for your journey to the cloud. If you have not already starting it, you will have to maintain two different environments, and we can definitely be the administration portal to simplify that. As you can also see on this slide, we are the preferred solution for the replacement of the end of sales Cisco Prime provisioning. And we are also available on the Cisco GPL, meaning that you can directly purchase Kurmi through the Cisco catalog. If we also look at Microsoft on the next slide, for Microsoft, we do not only manage the telephony with Microsoft Teams capability, we can also integrate with Microsoft Azure AD with our Graph API. That will allow you to manage users, license, but also groups on top of all the management of the telephony using PowerShell. And I'm pretty sure you know very well Microsoft, or some of you already have deployed some Microsoft services. Microsoft offers some nice user interface and administration portal for the management of their telephony, but you also need to use PowerShell scripting. And with Kurmi, we will allow you to directly use a nice and easy to use end user interface to get rid of your PowerShell script, but also to have in one single portal a DID management tool, a capability to delegate to some administrator the administration of their own scope, not managing the full tenant of Microsoft, and also perform bulk administration tasks directly on our Kurmi tool. And same as Cisco, we are very, I would say, a long-term partner with Microsoft, and we are already co-sale ready. So meaning that you can here like work with us and work with Microsoft to purchase Kurmi. I will give you back the ball, Eric, to talk a little bit more about why Kurmi and what are the top UC challenges IT administrator can face when they do the administration of collaboration stack.
Thank you, Antoine. So why Kurmi, right? And I think that's the question that a lot of you are here asking today, right? If I'm looking to do automation or if I have a UC environment, whether it's multi-technology, whether it's a hybrid environment of on-prem and cloud, or I need to be able to move or migrate users from an existing technology over to a new technology like a Cisco or like a Microsoft Teams or both. Do I want to use automation? And when we talk to our customers and our prospects, the biggest challenges that they're telling us they're having are managing that multi-vendor environment, right? I think for any of you that are as old as me, and hopefully most of you are younger, but you'll certainly, remember that kind of promise of unified communications being this, end all be all. We're going to be able to use one technology to manage everything. And while the technology partners have done a tremendous job of building out their offerings, so many of us, particularly in large scale enterprises, are, for various reasons, continuing to deal with multi-vendor environments. And the truth is, it's not going to change, right? It's probably only going to continue to get more and more complex. So that's really, probably the number one challenge a lot of our customers are facing. That hybrid architecture. Everybody's talking about what does this look like from a cloud-based infrastructure, right? Microsoft Teams obviously being cloud-based, Cisco, of course, moving their customers aggressively to the cloud, but we still have significant infrastructure investment and various other reasons why we can't necessarily move to the cloud all in one shot. So managing the hybrid architecture is really important. And how do we do that? How do we do it efficiently? How do we do it effectively? Budget pressure, cost reduction, right? This is something that it seems like regardless of the economy, never goes away, particularly for, our friends in IT. Rarely are we told by our CFO, oh, by the way, here's this big new budget, right? More times than not, it's great, continue to do what you're doing, but can you do it with a 10% or 20% plus reduction in costs? And then again, that move to the cloud, right? It's almost ubiquitous at this point, where people are moving almost all, if not at least some other applications to the cloud. And how do we do that effectively? How do we do it efficiently? And that's really where Kurmi can help you when we're talking about your unified communication stack. So you save time, you reduce errors, you decrease costs, and it's future-proof. And that future-proof piece is really important, right? I like to talk a little bit about, let's talk about Microsoft Teams for a minute. And 3-4 years ago, Teams was this, kind of this evolution from Skype, and Microsoft was looking at trying to deploy it more, and maybe giving you good cost deals or good pricing deals. But the voice piece of it wasn't necessarily something that a lot of enterprise customers were looking at as a serious solution. Well, whether it be COVID or a combination of the pandemic, as well as what we've seen from Microsoft in terms of upgrading their technology, Teams has now become a really well-known name. It's become a serious consideration for many large-scale enterprises for voice. So our ability to support that, obviously super important. What we don't know is what's going to be around the next corner for Cisco, what's going to be around the next corner for Microsoft, who's going to be the next Zoom, right? So as an enterprise, it's very difficult, if not impossible, to plan for that. What Kurmi allows you to do, because we're actually out there in the market and we're building these connectors and we're creating these integrations, is it allows you to feel much more comfortable knowing that when that next big technology comes out, you're going to be able to continue to manage that, automate it, provision it in a very effective way on a daily basis, utilizing Kurmi without having to train new people, invest in new technology, et cetera, et cetera. So all of these things are really important, and certainly some of the reasons that our customers are choosing Kurmi to move forward with their automation. So single pane of glass, smooth migration at your own pace. And remember, the migration piece, really important. It's going to save you time. It's going to save you money. But ultimately, the real value in Kurmi is going to come in the day-to-day management of your UC infrastructure in terms of dollars, cost savings, people savings. So with that, I'm going to hand it back for a live demonstration to my friend Antoine. And as I promised, I will cut my video feed so you don't have to look or listen to me anymore. Thanks, Antoine.
Thank you, Eric. So yeah, instead of just like showing you maybe some slides, the idea of this webinar today is also to show you a real use case of migration and what could be a migration using Kurmi. As Eric said, migration is actually a journey, and that's not something that will happen from one day to the other. That's actually something that will happen maybe over days, weeks, months, depending on the size of your company and depending on the strategy you want to adopt. And during that period, you will have to maintain multiple environments. And that's exactly what I want to illustrate with that demonstration. What you can see here on this screen is an administration portal of a Kurmi administrator. And this Kurmi administrator has actually multiple environments to maintain. Cisco on-prem, Webex Calling, but also Microsoft here. And what you can see here from my dashboard is that I can have one single pane of glass to see all the different environments and to here have a global overview of where my users are, what are the license I'm consuming on each of these application or cloud services. And I can also control the pace of my migration. Oh, I can do that. I can do that here using what we call the packaging configuration, or here the end user profile. On this platform, I created a couple of end user profile for either on-prem users or cloud services with, for example, Webex and Microsoft. And I selected what are the services I want to activate for each of these end user profile. And using that, it's easy for me to say that I want to move from on-prem to cloud just by selecting here the new profile I want to go to. And I will do this demonstration with two examples of users I have already created on-prem on a CCM, and I want to move them to the cloud, either Cisco Webex Cloud Services with multi-tenant or Microsoft Cloud Services with Microsoft Teams and configuration in Azure of the license. So how can I do that? The idea of Kurmi is that, as we said, you can be integrated with your IT system to just like import information from different sources, including directory, or you can directly read from the legacy system the users already provisioned. And that's the case here. I have a list of users already provisioned, and you can see here that most of them are still on-premise users. If I want to be more specific, and if I want to perform migration of, for example, of a full site, I can create some filter, or I can here like filter user from a given location. And I will see here only users from, for example, the Arlington location I have here. And I can select the user I want to migrate. Like, for example, I will start with this user, Carl. Okay. This is a user here with an on-premise configuration configured on a CCM with a telephony profile, line, and Jabber. And what I want to do and what I want to achieve now is to move him to the cloud, okay? And this is the ticket I have to do today. And as an administrator, the only thing I will have to do is not to go on this UCM interface to do all the deprovisioning, then to go on the Webex Control Hub portal to do the provisioning. The only thing I will have to do will be to go to my Kurmi, select the new end user profile I want for him, like I want to move him to Webex Calling, for example. Select here a different number or keep the same numbers depending on what you want to do and what you want to achieve in terms of configuration. Pick the right license, pick the other services you need, okay, based on this profile. And when you will hit the apply button, Kurmi will take care of both deprovisioning the users on premise, but also here doing the provisioning in the cloud services, meaning that after this task, you will be sure that you will not have any remaining of configuration on-prem, and all the cloud services will be correctly activated for this given user. And as you can see on my screen, at the end of the modification, we can send an email to welcome him to his new services, meaning that now I know that Carl is now a Webex calling users, and I know that all his services are correctly set up, so he can place some call, he can log using his Webex Teams client, and he can receive an email with a procedure to how to log to your new Webex Teams client. And I did that just by selecting a new profile. Of course, as I said, you can do that with unitary operation, or you can do that in mass by selecting all users from a given site and plan the migration for the weekend and select here that you want to migrate users, all this list of users for the weekend. If you go back to the homepage, you will see now here that I have a new user on Webex Calling, and this new user is actually my Carl users I just migrated from on-prem to cloud. And I can do the same for Microsoft. And that's actually one of the advantages of Kurmi, is that here you can control, you can search, you can see here all the list of users. And if you want to migrate them to Cisco, or if you want to migrate them to any other technology, like Microsoft, for example, it will be the same administration experience. And that's what we want to offer to your administrator, is a simple and easy to use way to just do your migration, do your day-to-day operation, and they don't have to be expert in any other new technology. We provide them an easy-to-use interface to do that. And here, for example, I'm moving this user to Teams. I can select the different thing I want. Like, for example, here I will use direct routing, and that's going to be the number I want to use. I will hit the apply button. and it will start the configuration of the user on Azure. It will assign the right license. It will also like push the number on Teams using PowerShell, and all of that will be done through one single form. You don't have to go again to UCM, then to Teams admin portal. All of that will be done here from Kurmi. On top of that, and that's the last thing I want to show you here before we're going back to this presentation, is that here from Kurmi, you can easily see what were the changes you perform with this user. So we have the change log, and we can see here the last modification. Okay, good news, it has been done by me here. I can see here the request of the change, and I can see here all the change really performed by here this migration, the deletion of the user from the on-premise, but also the configuration of the user in the cloud. And this has been done here with my single form, single modification of the end user profile. If you want to just undo this, we also offer to the administrator an easy way to just roll back. So let's say, for example, that we perform this migration and we encounter some issue. You can also roll back this migration, and you can revert and recreate all the services to Lola, for example, on-prem. And here it will be done just with one single click, one single here undo button. And when you will confirm that, you will be sure that it will recreate all services from Lola on-premise. So it will recreate here all the configuration for Lola on this UCM. So if I go back here, I can see now she's back with the UCM profile. She has the same line as before. She has the Jabber configuration as before. And all of that has been done here just using this rollback capability. So we can definitely here help you for your migration, help you for here the day-to-day operation. And during that transition, we will provide the single pane of glass for the daily management. You don't need to do any back and forth. All of the information will be available from one unique dashboard, and that's what we want to offer here. If you want to have more info or a specific demo, we will be happy to conduct additional demonstration of Kurmi application, but I will here give the ball back to Eric to talk a little bit more about the ROI of Kurmi for both migration and all day-to-day operation.
Thank you, Antoine, and great job as always. So as Antoine mentioned, right, one of the things we want to leave you with, and I think that the information on this slide is really powerful. We've done third-party studies. We've actually contracted some third parties to actually do some research for us, just to get. And then again, we've talked to our own customers and just from our own experience. And it's really, what is the ROI on an automation tool like Kurmi? So, particularly for large scale enterprises, this scales and becomes really significant. So, just so you all are aware, on the average, each employee within your organization has 2 changes per year inside of their unified communication environment. It could be anything. We moved locations, we added an individual, someone maybe got married and changed their name. Could be any one of these. We wanted to add an attribute, we wanted to add some functionality, maybe a new technology, etc. But on the average, it's 2 changes per employee per year. From studies that we've done, from doing it ourselves, and also from talking to our customers, the average change, the average time to do that, to make one of those changes, is actually, it's closer to 25 minutes, but we're being pretty conservative here, and we're saying 20 minutes. So on the average, every time someone changes their name, needs to reset a voicemail pin, whatever the case might be, that could take north of 20 minutes every single time by one of your employees on your help desk, et cetera, to have to go in and make that change. Now, if you have 10,000 employees, that's 20,000 changes per year. That translates into 6,600 plus hours per year that your team, your organization is spending on doing what are really fairly mundane tasks in almost every case. With Kurmi, as I think Antoine just showed you, that time gets reduced from north of 20 minutes to about 60 seconds. So if you do the math and you extrapolate that out for 10,000 users or a 10,000 person organization, you're saving 6,000 hours per year. Now, if you have a 20 or 30,000 person organization, you can see that number scales and grows really, pretty rapidly. You're also talking about a significant reduction in errors, which all of this ultimately leads to increased productivity, better customer experience for you, and ultimately just a better overall UC environment because of your ability to manage Kurmi on a daily basis. So with that, want to thank everybody for coming, all the questions that came in. We don't have a lot of time, but I think we'll maybe be able to get to one or two. Antoine, I'll actually grab the first one, if that's okay with you, Antoine. So
Yep.
What are the different, because there's a technical question after this. So this is the one. What are the different UC vendors that are managed with Kurmi? So today, Kurmi is managing Cisco, Avaya, Microsoft, Zoom, and some others, right? As I mentioned before, and as did Antoine, we're future-proof, right? So we're trying to, as much as we possibly can, be on the bleeding edge or the leading edge of the technology kind of tsunami that continues to move forward. When we look at what we have today, those are the built-in connectors. I mentioned before, too, what's really important, things like ITSM, ServiceNow, a lot of our large-scale, even our medium-sized customers are using ITSMs like a ServiceNow to handle their ticketing. That maybe is their interface for their users. So our ability to work with those is certainly really valuable. So happy to, take more questions or have further follow-up on that. We have another question, I think, that might came in. Okay. All right. So Antoine, hopefully that answered your question, folks. So the next question is Kurmi removing, and Antoine, you got to grab this one. Is Kurmi removing the on-premise legacy services during the migration, or would we have to deprovision those manually? Great question.
Yeah, actually, that's a very great question, and that's very important here. As we said here, Kurmi has a lot of built-in connectors, and because we are connected to both environments, we are not only on something that will just like recreate or configure everything to the target or cloud environment. We can also like automate the deprovisioning of the legacy services, and that will be very important because we know that migration will be something that will happen over the time. You will have to decommission maybe your on-premise license, or you will have to here like be sure that you're removing all the configuration on your legacy environment. Yes, we can do that, and that's native to the product. So that's very important to understand. Yes.
Perfect. Very good point. All right. I think we might have time for one more question. And Antoine, I think we do have more than that, but I'm going to choose this one as I think it's relevant.
Pick the best one then.
Okay. How is Kurmi offered? Is it an on-premise deployment, or do you have cloud-based capability as well? And if so, can you please explain what that looks like?
Okay. That's actually a very good question, and that's something that we have not yet mentioned here. But Kurmi is actually an on-premise solution, and we can be connected to your on-premise system. But we also started with what we call Kurmi as a service. That is a fully hosted Kurmi by us. And we can manage today with Kurmi as a service some cloud services like Microsoft. So you don't need to install a full instance of Kurmi on your premise. We can directly offer you all the management and administration capability we talked about today as a service. And that's something we just started last year. And we will be happy to detail maybe in a next webinar, in a future webinar this year. But we do offer both options today, either on-premise or with Kurmi as a service for some cloud services.
Good stuff. Thank you, Antoine. And with that, folks, I think we're actually at the end of our 30-minute window. On behalf of Antoine, on behalf of Kurmi, I want to thank everybody who joined us today. We hope that this was informative and gave you some understanding of not only who Kurmi is, but also maybe helped with answering some of the questions around what does a move to Cisco Webex Calling or Microsoft Teams Voice, et cetera, look like, and how can an automation tool like Kurmi help you? So our contact information is there. Kurmi-software.com is our website. Please feel free to reach out to us. Again, thank you for your time, and we look forward to speaking with you all again soon.
Thank you, everyone.
So much, folks.
Have a nice day.
Yep. Have a great day, everybody.